What's up, everyone? AJ here on Day Trader Boom or Bust. I hope you had a great weekend. I had an awesome weekend myself. And with trading today, I've been guilty a lot of times to this point in my trading career of forgetting just how important patience is. I've talked about it a lot, even in my videos, but it's still something that requires me to constantly remind myself. And today is a great example of what can happen if you are patient. So let's take a look at the trades and see how that worked for me. Here's today's watch list. I post this every morning between 9 and 9:15 a.m. on my Twitter. If you want to make sure to catch that, give me a follow at AJ Tabayan. And on today's watch list, I had Apple and Boeing. Sorry, you know what? As I look at this, I think this is an error on my. Well, I know it's an error on my part because I really wasn't watching Boeing. It should have been BABA, which I have here on the secondary list. So apologies for that. But I also had Snap that was trading on some news, and then on the secondary list I had Nvidia and DKNG, both based off of their daily charts, and then I had Piton, and again, as I mentioned, BABA really should have been on the primary, and Mara as continuation plays. So with exercising the kind of patience that I mentioned in the intro, I was able to more than hit my daily goal with just 2 trades today, and I'm really excited about that. So you can see I only traded Space and Apple today, so let's quickly take a look at that. On Space, this was, yes, an opening range breakout, but I have to be honest, I went back and looked at my data over the last month and a half, and a lot of my losses on each day were based off of failed 1-minute ORBs, and because of that I decided today that I was going to wait for additional confirmation on any breakouts if I was going to take it. And that's not to say that I won't take 1-minute ORBs, as I have done successfully in the past. It just means that over the past month and a half, the way the market's been trading, it just hasn't been as effective, and I probably have to wait for the market to really start to change its attitude again before I can start implementing that particular strategy the way I've done in the past. And I think there's something to be said about that, because certain strategies will be more effective in certain markets. At least that's been my experience and what I've heard and seen from other great traders. So I think the ability to be able to adapt is key. Now, I wish I'd adapted that earlier, but it is what it is. I don't want to, with that said, and I know I'm bouncing back and forth here, but I also am not in the school of thought of just changing my trade book trading rules just because it didn't work for a couple weeks. So I needed enough of a data set to kind of look back, and I felt that in the last month and a half that was enough for me to make a slight adjustment. So here on Space, let's get the epic out, and you can see that on Space it pushed up here right at the open and then immediately came right back down, and that's some of that volatility we've kind of been seeing in the low volume markets that has transpired over the last month and a half or so. And then so I saw that and I continued to wait because I wanted to see whether or not a break of this low over here was going to be a sustained one. And as you can see, it did push back up, and it failed though at the pre-market high, this level over here. And that was a first good indicator to me that this might be a bit of a short, because and that it could sell off, because this is obviously a lower high. And as it pushed back below opening price and below the 200 SMA here on the 1 minute chart, let me just clear these out here. So I went short here, and I had a stop loss just above pre-market high over here. And space can really move in either, it can spike in either direction. So I kept my stop loss up here. I committed to keep my stop loss where I had set it, so that I didn't get stopped out unnecessarily. You can see that the trade immediately went in my direction, but it did seem to have some. It seemed to have some trouble here at pre-market low. As you can see there, I was patient, but when it broke below that, I didn't want to see it shoot right back up, and then end up, stopping me out for a full loss. So my 2-hour profit target was actually right about here. It was so close that I took some partials, I'm just trying to recall. I took some partials, and it continued to drop lower. When it's all said and done, I did get all out over here and managed to get actually about 2.1 R out of this trade. So, this patience of not jumping in right away here really paid off in this instance. And I will also add that it was really, really nice to see some continuation in the market today, because I really feel that some of the volume started to come back in. And one other thing I'll mention with this particular trade, I had a lot more confidence in this, because a lot of the stocks that I was watching, along with the SPY and the market in general, really seemed bearish at the open. So, which is why I had that conviction of keeping my stop loss, up around that pre-market high. So that was space. And then after that, I, having started the day off well and having this theme of making sure that I was patient, I started just watching the stocks on my watch list, and I saw Apple. And let's take a look here at the 5-minute chart, because I think it's a little bit more apparent what I saw here. As you can see, Apple had a bit of a doji candle here on the 5-minute chart at the open, but it also failed. It threw this big wick and also failed off of the pre-market high here. Had this big red candle going down. But at this point, like I said, I was already up for the day, and I didn't want to kind of prematurely get into this, because you can see that we have this level here, this low level set in the pre-market, and we also have pre-market low here. So I really wanted to be sure that this was going to be something that, was going to continue moving down before I took a position. Now, with that said, I do think that I probably took a riskier trade, not a bad trade, a riskier trade in terms of my entry for a continuation, which I'm okay with. And what I mean by that is this. So the patience here came in. So this is the sell-off, came back up, nearly touched this 20 SMA, but you've heard me talk. If you watch some of my old videos, I have a strategy where I will enter as a continuation if it pierces above this 20 on the short and then comes back down, and I will enter at the break below the candle that pierced the 20. In this particular case, even though it was so close, it did not pierce the 20, and I wanted to make sure that I really adhered to that rule. So I didn't take an entry on that. I wanted to watch this, and you can see when it came back down, it failed to push below pre-market low here. So I thought that it might have it either might, you know, completely take a turn and reverse, or there was still going to be at least another pullback before it would continue on. So it did. You can see it did pull back, and instead of the 20, it came all the way back above the 100 SMA here and above VWAP before it failed. Now, and most importantly, I also saw this R3 level. So I waited for it to come back down and push below all of these averages before I felt comfortable maybe taking a bit of a trend continuation play. So why I said I felt this was a little riskier is because obviously I really don't have full confirmation of this continuation, because that would be waiting for a break of this the pre-market low, and at the time what was also low of day. But I really felt that it was weak. There was some larger bids towards the bottom, to the downside on the L2. And like I said, this move down was also supported by the market selling off. So I did go short here, as you can see, when it broke back below this level and the 20 SMA here on the 1 minute chart. I set my stop loss above R3, and let's clear those out. As you can see, it came back and tested the 200 SMA and but failed to push back above VWAP, and then started to waterfall. So at that point, I felt really good about this particular trade. I kept my stop loss here above R3, but when it failed to push above VWAP, I did move my stop loss here, because I really didn't want to give back much profits for the day in case it bounced once again off of the low day and pre-market low here. My profit target was all the way down here, but as you can see, it took one more leg down and immediately hit my 2-hour profit target, which put me at about 4.2R green for the day. And I really felt that that was a great way to start the week. There was no need to put any more money at risk, and I could enjoy the rest of the day. And I had a bit of an ulterior motive. I play billiards, and today is the start of the US Open 9-ball championship, so I really wanted to watch that. So that's it. That's all for today. And like I said at the beginning, I'll reiterate it again. Patience really paid off today. I'm proud of myself for that. And I do know that that's going to be an ongoing thing that I'm going to have to be mindful of. But days like this really reinforce why it's so important for me to focus on that particular skill set. So with that said, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed that recap. And until tomorrow's recap, this is AJ on Day Trader Boom or Bust, signing out. Cheers.